So who's gonna be Anthony Joshua's next opponent? Eddie Hearn says that it sounds like it's gonna be Kubrat Pulev. So I'm guessing that Eddie Hearn is probably gonna be trying to figure out whether Joshua's gonna take is it Joshua's gonna take on Usyk for the WBO mandatory, or whether he's gonna take on Kubrat Pulev first for the IBF mandatory. IBF, they tend to be quite strict with enforcing their mandatories, so I suspect that they might go with Kubrat Pulev. If I had to pick between whether Joshua should fight Kubrat Pulev or fight Usyk, I'll probably go with Usyk, just because Usyk is more accomplished fighter, having cleared out the cruiserweight division and become the undisputed and unified heavyweight champion of the cruiserweight division. I think it would be a good sell for the Joshua fight, considering Joshua's the he's the unified heavyweight champion with having 4 belts. So I think that would be a better route in terms of obviously generating more money and gaining more public interest. Also in the UK, fans have already seen Usyk a bit more than they've seen Pulev. Pulev is pretty much been more based in Bulgaria with his fights. So the British public is more familiar with Usyk, having seen Usyk knock out Tony Bellew, and also Usyk he's been on the airwaves a lot more than Pulev in terms of like YouTube and interviews on Sky Sports and everything. So I'm guessing the British public is more aware and more they've seen Usyk just a lot more. So I think it'll be much easier to sell that fight, and I actually think that fight would be a better fight as well in terms of like the clash of styles with Usyk's head movement and quick feet, and also his ability to land accurate shots as well. So I think that would be a good, interesting fight with Joshua, especially, and it'll be interesting to see how Joshua will come into that fight as well, whether he'll maybe put on more weight, or whether he'll just try and stay around the same weight he was with Andy Ruiz, which I suspect he might do so in order to not to give Usyk too much an advantage over him in terms of Usyk's movement. But we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. I prefer to see the Usyk fight. I think it'll be a much better fight. Also, I think the Usyk fight would be a much more massive fight as well, because as mandatories don't really it's not standard for mandatories to have rematch clauses in their contracts. So if Usyk beats Anthony Joshua as a mandatory, he actually doesn't have to give Anthony Joshua a rematch, just like how Andy Ruiz had to give him a rematch. So that just adds more to the pie in terms of how big the fight would be. Because if Usyk wins, will he just ride into the sunset and probably go and unify with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, or would he give a rematch to Anthony Joshua? I'm not sure what he will do there, but hopefully it will get all clarified. I think Eddie Hearn said that it will be quite quick. It will be quite quick when they announce who Joshua will be fighting next, because of having to quickly he has to negotiate and talk to IBF and WBO about what Joshua's next moves are going to be. Because if Joshua if they don't really communicate with the sanctioning bodies, obviously one of them might probably strip Anthony Joshua of one of the belts, strip him of the WBO, strip him of the IBF, if it's not well communicated what they're doing. So hopefully it can be all resolved and one of the belts is not stripped from Anthony Joshua, so we can keep all the belts unified, and then we can keep the belts not as fragmented as they could be, so we can get a undisputed fight with Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder after they've sorted out their rematch. I think it's February 22nd that fight's gonna be. So we just have to see what happens there. But yeah, it's looking interesting. Kubrat Pulev, he's not a walkover. He's got a pretty solid jab. He had a basic comprehensive victory over Fury. Wasn't very extremely impressive, but Kubrat Pulev is a decent heavyweight, standard decent heavyweight. And one thing you can't, especially with Joshua having lost to Andy Ruiz the first time, Anthony Joshua's not going to be underestimating any fighters at all from now on. So he has to treat Kubrat Pulev as if he's fighting a Deontay Wilder or fighting a Tyson Fury, just to make sure he guarantees the win and not have any lapses in concentration leading to Pulev beating Anthony Joshua, because he only takes one punch. He could take a left hook, he could take a right hand, you just don't really know. So I know Joshua's going to definitely be on his game whether he fights Kubrat Pulev, and if he has to fight Usyk, he's definitely going to have to double be on his game, because Usyk is no walkover. A lot of people are doubting Usyk based on his performance against Witherspoon. That's Usyk's first fight in the heavyweight division. Also, Usyk hadn't fought for a while. He was meant to fight Carlos Takam, which I think would have been a very good yardstick to know whether how Usyk will be in the heavyweight division, because Takam is no walkover. Takam can fight. Takam's always in shape, so it would have been a good way to know. So is Usyk's second fight in the heavyweight division going to actually be against Anthony Joshua? There's rumors going around that he might fight Derek Chisora, which would be a good dust up. So we just have to wait and see what happens early 2020. What do you guys think? Do you prefer Joshua to fight Kubrat Pulev, or do you prefer him to fight Usyk? What do you think happens in those fights? Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me hear from you guys. Cool.